Good evening and welcome back to the next generation of the Mangrove 9. And today is episode 8 and we have some special guests today. And the topic is going to be about art and cultures. My name is Yinka Inniss-Charles.
And my name is Jamila Bolton-Gordan.
And today we have two special guests, Junior Tomlin and Jerome Ince-Mitchell, are both artists in their own rights, very creative in all areas. So we're going to start off by just letting them introduce themselves. So first up, we will have Junior Tomlin. So Junior, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Junior Tomlin. I'm born and bred in Mangrove, where I live. I went to school around here and I've basically been doing art for about 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah. After leaving college, I went on to do a graphic design course for 3 years. And then after that, I was basically let free to basically find work. So I didn't end up being a graphic designer after I left. Yeah, I ended up doing illustration. And the first thing that I got into is doing computer game packaging artwork.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That led me on to doing like record covers, rave flyers. I worked on a horror movie. I worked in special effects, worked on digital coloring for comics. So I've got like a lot of history and I've done many things.
Okay.
Good with the hands.
Thank you.
Nice.
And Jerome, would you like to, Jerome Ince-Mitchell, young and up and coming artist, but artist as well, I would say, been an artist for a very long time also. Would you like to tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Jerome. My practice consists of multidisciplinary, I guess, painting, drawing, performance, curation, as well as a tool. I would probably describe it as, my practice uses play to comment on or to address conversations on identity. I was born West London as well, born in Hammersmith, grew up in Bush. My sort of journey has been one of, so I went to initially, I graduated from the foundation diploma at Brighton, as part of Brighton University, but it was in Hastings. There I got my first commission, working on a massive mural in Wembley actually, for the 2012 Olympics. In terms of schooling, I went to Camberwell College of Art for 2 years, graduated the BA there. I went to the Royal College of Art recently, graduated the MA painting course there. I now work as a tutor as well. Also the chair of this organisation called AM, which is the largest, I'm the chair of the Artist Council on it, which is the largest artist network in the UK.
Wow.
We try to do things that advocate for artist rights. And yeah, I just multifaceted practice, but I'm looking forward to expanding.
I like that. No limitations. That's what I like. What I would say, that I suppose the first initial question is, why did you choose that particular industry to go into, or what made you think that, or feel that you were drawn to those elements of art? Because it's not an easy, well, I wouldn't say industry sounds a bit harsh, but it's just confidence wise. I mean, even I tried to do some art and it's kind of very territorial, and it's not for the faint-hearted. So how did you feel, and what made you decide or choose that you wanted to go into that industry?
You want to answer that first, Junior?
Very good question. Very good question indeed. Because my trajectory was that at school I was good at art.
Okay.
Yeah, and again to the point here where I'd done the CSE arts and I got grade 1, and then my art teacher said, "Why don't you try for A level?" And it was at that intermediate time here where I was thinking to become basically a graphic designer. So I had to do 2 years of A level art because that's what that was the requirements at that particular time. Yeah. So I'd done the A-level art, and they killed me off, and they gave me an E. But that basically, yeah, exactly. That didn't deter me, because I had this idea of like going to art college. So I went to foundation, done the foundation, and then I went to Goldsmiths College.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What made you? Because to get an E, and that's not for the. A lot of people could have just got so deterred that they would have just given up. What made you continue on? Or did you have a good mentor, or you just knew within yourself that you could, you were better than that, and you could, achieve more out of
Well,
art?
because put it this way, I was better than their assessment of me.
Good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because they basically are looking for a particular criteria to basically mark. And when you come up against something here that is like highly imaginative, yeah, they'll mark you down.
Right. Okay.
And in that case, that's what basically happened. But that didn't stop me from like going and doing foundation in like Notting Hill Gate at Bimeshaw School of Art, and then going to Goldsmiths College. Yeah.
Right.
Become like a graphic designer. Even though at the end of the 3 years I couldn't get a job as a graphic designer, so I changed my entire portfolio to illustration.
So basically, you knew in your heart that what you wanted to do, and you knew where you was going. You already knew your journey by the sounds of things, because it's like there was these blockages that they were trying to kind of, obstacles along the way, but you still carried on.
Yeah.
Pursued it. You still
You just
pursued
found a different way. You knew you were going to get there.
Because the interesting thing is that through going through the college system, yeah, I worked out that there's always like tutors who basically want to either mold you into an extension of themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and not allow you to basically grow as an artist in your own rights.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can stifle your creativity, definitely.
Yeah. So I basically stuck to my guns and stuck to my imaginative mind stuff while getting better at different ways to actually deliver art.
Right.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're opening a new kind of format for art, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
And even for young people, especially young black men coming up.
Mm.
Because when I sort of got my first commission, it was quite interesting, because that was doing the computer game packaging artwork, and I used to use an airbrush, the same type of thing here that a whole lot of illustrators use when they used to do like science fiction book covers, because that was one of my goals, was to basically do the covers for science fiction books.
I can see that.
About the comics.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, because after I sort of done my first cover, when it comes to computer game packaging artwork, I basically went out to find more of those companies, and I used to go to the exhibitions where they used to have all the companies in, basically trying to entice people, saying, this is our brand new game, what do you think about it? So I went down there basically hunting for the companies to do the work for.
Oh, okay. So you definitely.
So you took it to them.
Yeah.
I took it to them. Because when
Nice
you leave college, you've got a college portfolio, and nobody takes you seriously when you've got a college portfolio. When you've got stuff printed in your portfolio, so I've done this, and I've done this, and I've been there, people take you more seriously.
Mm.
Yeah. Because on the flip side of that, your college portfolio could be so banging, people just look at it and just offer you a job. So that's the other side of it.
Mm.
And how did you find that, Jerome? Oh, sorry, go on.
I said, I did have one person who believed in me a lot, and she's still around today, and her name is Carol Klein.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, she does the art show on BBC. No, she does the gardening program on BBC.
Ah. So Carol Klein, thank you for supporting Junior Tomlin all the way. So a big shout out to Carol.
Junior, what time period this was like? Because what time period when you were studying at Goldsmiths doing graphic design and then you switched to illustration? Did you study illustration? Like what? Where did you study? What time period was it?
This was 1980 to 1983. when I was at Goldsmiths.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's when the Goldsmiths name, as far as I know it, that's when it was made. So a lot of artists and creatives there at that time.
Yeah.
I know more from the fine art perspective, but just creativity and arts in general. I know that time period was very much like you had to be good to be there, and it's a big thing basically.
So yeah.
Because it's a lovely thing when people actually like they can see the talent in your artwork and they'll give you a chance.
Yeah.
And then you basically have to prove to them, that you're not gonna sort of like misuse their belief and basically like dropping out. You know, you're there for 3 years, do the whole 3 years, come out with flying colours, then go and get a job. And basically stick by your ganja, because there's always people who are trying to deflect you from this or that, or say one or two things to you there that could basically put you off or inspire you. You know, it's that double-edged sword.
And I suppose also, as I listen to the two of you, it just makes me reflect on my son in one sense. I don't really usually talk about my children, but my son is 17. And from when he was very young, he's always been fascinated with planes. So, from time of, it started off with trains, as a typical boy. And from the train sets to the planes, and then he evolved. So we had to go to Biggins Hill, any air show we had to go to. He knows all the planes, from the Spitfire, World War I planes, right up into who made the first plane. The American, the fastest plane, and whatever it is, he's like a walking dictionary of planes. And moving forward, he then got into aeronautical engineering.
Nice.
Because that's what the career he wants to go into. And he's been steadfast on researching all of that. But because he had an injury when he was 14-ish,
yes.
As people know, he then, that caused him to come out of school because he became partially paralyzed, just doing something in PE. And but since then he's been out of school and been out of education. But he's never changed from that point. And since I suppose the Olympics, and it's really weird because we're watching the Olympics, we watch the Paralympics after the Olympics. So we watch Bolton, we're like, yeah, Bolt's fantastic, And then we got into the Paralympics, and I must say I've never really sat down and watched the Paralympics, and I was taken aback, and I was so humbled, or all the family were, watching people who go through immense,
amazing,
challenges, and they actually and they don't get the funding like in normal athletics or normal Olympic standard kind of sports. They get half the money, half the funding, and yet they achieve so much. To see somebody swimming with no arms and no legs, or just whatever the case may be, whatever sport it was, the fact that they've gone through these challenges. So my son turned around and said to me, once we finished watching, I think it was the 100 meters with David, I can't remember his surname, and he won in the wheelchair. And once we watched that 100 meters race, my son turned around, because he used to be a 100-meter sprinter in the borough. So he held the title 3 years in the borough when he was young. Wow. And he looked at me and said, Mum, no matter what they tell me, no matter what happens, I can still be a pilot, someone who's got disability, I can still be a pilot, and I can still be in my wheelchair fixing planes. I don't care what they tell me. Even if they tell me to go into another course or, another career, I'm not going to do that. I'm always going to be what I set out to be. So he's quite determined in that way. So, Junior, you remind me, and when you say to me, that no matter what, you're still going to, find that avenue in terms of art, because you know yourself.
I think it as well. When from young, I think something's in you, and you know. I think it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. I think there's a lot of people who kind of find their way as they go along, and they kind of just say, "Oh, I accidentally got into it." Or when you're a child and you already know, because there's lots of people who start drawing from very, very young, like in their from the age of 5 and things like that, and they just continuously do all this kind of artwork and things, and just like, wow. And then you can kind of, you know, see them progress and they become artists. But you always knew, and they always knew, they wanted to be artists. That's what they wanted to be. With music, I always knew I wanted to do music, no matter what people told me. And trust me, they dishearten you and tell you, yeah, right, you're gonna be, you know, you can't. What career you're gonna make out of that? One in a something million.
Yeah.
You're gonna be artist. You're never gonna make it, and you better get a day job. Do you know what I mean?
The good thing here is like don't allow anyone to deflect you from your dreams.
Yeah.
Because there's always somebody to throw a spanner at you that makes you stop. You know, you put your heads about somebody who's very talented, and then somebody says something, just a sentence, to block that
damage
person.
them. I always remember the negative comments where people used to laugh at me. It depends on your personality. Obviously, if you told me that, I was like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. He's there because you remember those people laughing. But all I remember as a child growing up, when they were kind of laughing, like, yeah, right.
People who laugh, those are the ones without the courage to do it themselves.
Exactly. They have fear, so they want to put the fear in you.
So those are the pullback people. They rather pull you back. They don't want you to get ahead of them because they can't do it. They want to keep you at their level.
That's an interesting question because, sorry, Jerome, how did you find coming in? With the community? Did you find that people within the community supported you in their entirety, or did you find that there's certain people, friends and family, that pulled you back? I mean, I'm not saying name family or anything.
Do you think as well it was? Do you think as well, Jerome, it's more of understanding, because some people don't kind of understand the whole arts in itself anyway, so they kind of think, you know,
definitely
think about it.
Definitely,
It's ignorance. So it's ignorance of not knowing outside of their circles. So sometimes I put it down to ignorance rather than people trying to pull you down all the time. Did you find
definitely
you struggled, or
definitely in regards to family, it's definitely not knowing or understanding, and so them trying to guide you in a way that they understand and that they feel they know works, or
like being an accountant, a doctor, lawyer.
Exactly. And but I always felt like I was quite strongly encouraged, and the only time I ever felt any sort of like, I'll just describe it anyway. I was quite strongly encouraged from a young age. So from quite
when
young.
You used to paint your grandparents. I remember that.
Yeah. So I used to
paint
do
the whole
things
sitting room with paint.
As a very young, I used to do things involving creative stuff.
Why are you exposing the young man now for?
Because I'll never forget that. Coming there, and the whole sitting room was painted white with this gloss paint that he opened.
Yeah, with that. Yeah. It just looked fascinating to me. Gloss. I was really, really young, and
he's trying to tell us that now, you know.
But like Auntie Yinka's saying, like it was from them young ages. I used to really enjoy putting my crayons on the radiator and watch the colours just blend. That was so interesting to me, and so like, wow, this is great. Obviously, it's not ideal for your.
But that's quite interesting because it's like seeing them melt. Yeah, you're thinking, wait a minute, I can get a piece of paper and I can drip the crayons on that and then move them around and make art.
Yeah.
So much things. I used to just put it on my finger and just move them around different places. But because I was encouraged, I felt quite. I always was told, do what you feel, do what you love, and so any sort of negative impact, and I tended to be quite good at certain lots of different things, and so whenever I did receive any negative impact or criticism or whatever, it was quite easy for me to deflect it, because I was quite like, man, I already know that I'm good. Like I don't need you to. You're telling me that I can't do this thing. I know I can do it. If I'm not doing it, it's because I'm choosing not to do it. And and that sort of mentality came up again and again at different levels. So being told like you can't, I don't know. I got a C for art, and I thought that I was like, man, this is so. But at the same time, I always never looked at the arts education system as something that would help me be an artist. I just saw it as a space they were giving me a space to do what I want, and then as long as I can tick the boxes to get
it's basically giving you space to basically grow.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's not the be all and end all. And I was young, and her grandmother is quite a good artist, but she also likes making jewelry and all kind of things. So she's, she crosses the boundaries of different elements of art making. Yeah. And but I just asking some young people today how they felt about not knowing whether they're going to be sitting GCSEs or not, whether regardless of it's art or other elements of GCSEs or core subjects of GCSEs, and they were very frank, and they just said, well, actually, some of them were saying, well, I don't even know why I should even be studying, because I don't know what I'm studying for. I was not studying, sorry, revising for. And others were actively advising, one or two were actively advising still, regardless. And then one said, I've learned now in the last year and a half that GCSEs don't define me. So wherever they mark me, whether I do GCSE exams or not, or my teacher marks my coursework, whether I get on with my teacher who marks my coursework and how that reflects on what the grade she gives me is irrelevant, because I know that I surpass GCSEs. And I thought, okay. Yeah. I don't really have to coach you then in any particular way in terms of motivation or confidence. It was really refreshing to see somebody that confident, and then I could see the rest of his peers looking at him thinking, okay, I didn't think like that, but actually, you're right, we can.
And you think as well, sometimes I find the teacher can make a whole, like Junior was saying, difference, but not just about them trying to mold you, about them being boring sometimes. Because I remember having an art teacher.
But
I was sleeping for the lesson.
The lovely thing about that is that sometimes it's that you don't know you're talented until your teacher tells you.
Yeah, sometimes,
You're basically doing what you do, and it comes naturally from you. Mm-hmm. Yeah? But the teacher will see that talent, and they'll try to do that. They'll nurture it, and just fall from like draw or paint, having at least one good person batting in the corner.
Mm. If you can find that person, I mean that area is shrinking fast.
Yeah. What I say to people who want to get into art, is that once you can draw, your drawing can basically take you anywhere. Because you can take that drawing and you can basically I can paint. I think so. I can design this. I can do that. I can sculpt. I'll write different things.
Do you think this is also going to Jerome as well and Junior? Do you think those? Because sometimes there's like this way, and people say go to college, study, do this, and learn to draw, to sketch, to do the kind of direction that people tell you in the ways of going into art. Learn how to paint, learn how to do charcoal. And then you get some artists who come from nothing. Never gone to school, never gone to college, never learned how to actually sketch from a teacher or any kind of art. And they become, the most famous artists based on doing something at home, whether it's the materials they use. There's some artists that use, it sounds mad, but poo, like that famous artist that would go around using, is it camel poo or whatever? Put it all on the picture, and he's a big famous artist. I saw some of his stuff in Tate, the Tate Gallery and stuff. So do you feel that it's important? Do you think you have more of an advantage if you go and learn the techniques of how to sketch and shade and compared to someone who maybe just one day decides because they say art is an art of expression, so you can do a little scribble and then I might say, oh god, what's that? That's rubbish. And then someone would say, nope, in that piece of scribble there's 100 years of history, and if you look deeper.
But it's strangely enough, the beauty of it is that no one told the cavemen how to paint, but yet they're still painting.
Yeah, true.
So when you have to think about going to art school to learn how to draw, you think, wait a minute, I can do that by going out to a park, with a sketch.
Isn't that the same? Like, you look how they kind of in the 80s, how they frowned in the art world, graffiti, and look at it now incorporated into art.
Yes, from spraying.
They arrested and harassed young men who were very, very creative in graffiti. I mean, yes,
I think it's because they were spraying on buildings and stuff, and they were calling it vandalism. I don't think because they didn't appreciate where they was doing it.
Was on.
If you break down graffiti,
no matter where they did it though, they were still.
Yeah, they were frowned upon. They weren't classed as artists.
Even if you done it on a train.
If you break down graffiti, think of it as abstract art.
Yeah, exactly. It's a scenario with just like, I remember happening, which was in the paper. You know, we tried to protest about it, going there, and there was a guy called Flex. He's from Mangrove. I'm sure you know him, and he done that big memorial for Grenville, which was beautiful, and you know everyone was happy in the community that he done such a beautiful piece on behalf of tribute to Grenville, and the council, as always, or the neighbours who lived in those nice houses. They tried to find every excuse, you know, to get rid of it. They tried to say the children felt scared and they walked past, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" So eventually, they got, you know, they sneakily one day we came, and he came back to it, and it was gone. They sprayed white paint all over it. So this is what I mean. I get what you're saying when you're saying that if you're doing it in a book, they accept it. Or if someone says, "Oh, you're allowed to do it," it's art, street art. But as soon as you do some beautiful piece of art in the same kind of way on a wall that no one really had a problem with at the time, they thought it was beautiful, the council then decided to say that's vandalism and it's a criminal, and they painted all over it.
Yeah, but then I think it's also that goes for a lot of things. I mean, that goes for, I mean, I like recycling, and I think the other side of it, you know, somebody done in a demonstration about waste, especially about plastic.
Oh, on the vandalism thing, I'll just say it kind of fits in. I feel like it's an essential part of what makes us human, in terms of separating, in terms of just our ability to process the world around us and feel a desire to express something about it. I feel like that is just, there's something about that is very special, and I don't know what to do. I haven't fully.
A bit like Banksy, do you think that he goes around expressing himself, and he'll go and do these little things everywhere. And people are so baffled of how he got it there, but that's one way of him making sure that he can express himself as an artist, and so he's recognised for that. So I suppose with graffiti, I get what you're saying. It's the same kind of thing. People, what they would call vandalism, you would purposely spray a train because you want everybody to see your artwork. And what better than doing it on the train? You know what I mean?
But you see, the lovely thing about that, is that you put it on the wall, it's graffiti and vandalism. You put it on a canvas, on a board, it's art.
Art, yeah, it's true.
It's very strange, because it's like if somebody had a building and they've got an exterior wall and you had a graffiti artist paint on the wall, that's basically street arts, not graffiti. Because it's basically been allowed to be there.
Yeah, it's true.
They done a creative kind of, it was a bottles, loads of bottles, and they created a human skeleton out of bottles, basically. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But because it wasn't commissioned, because it wasn't authorized by the certain powers that be, it was just seen as destructive, and it had to be removed. However, a company was commissioned to do the same kind of awareness promotion of plastic and how it's killing the ocean, and they had they gave this woman, they commissioned this woman to do same bottles of plastic and plastic lids. She ended up doing a whale. Now that was hailed as the most fantastic piece of art on Westminster Bridge, but because, and then you get money from that, you get other commissions from that. It's a monetary based scheme. Anything that they authorize you to do, it means that they're going to make money from it. If they haven't authorized it, don't have control over it, then it's seen as a nuisance, and it's seen as something that could be that needs to be taken down or disbanded in some form.
Answers your earlier question, to be honest, like on the family and understanding and value. Ultimately, we live in a capitalist society, and I did notice a massive difference when I didn't even tell them. My little brother told them. When he was apparently the family were talking about my career path after I graduated my BA at Camberwell, and this is before I got to my grandparents' house at Sunday dinner, and they were like, "Okay, we need to convince him to get a proper job now. Enough with the art thing." Blah, blah, blah. He said to them, he was like, "Oh, you know that he sold all of his paintings that he graduated with, and the cheapest one was £1,000.
Wow,
and that was like the validation. Yeah. Then that was something they understood and were like, okay, then you're an artist now. And then all of a sudden it changed, and it's just it's like a microcosm of.
Why does it have to get that way? Why does it have to get that way where people see, the people that see that the monetary aspect to them. They say, oh yeah, you can keep doing your art. Like years ago, it's like in the family, follow in the father's tradition and go down.
Get a day job, get a 9 to 5.
Go down pit. Yeah, go down pits. What are you doing with like this pencil business and this paint business? Get a proper job. And that's what they think. They're thinking that being an artist is not a proper job. Well, being an artist basically make the habitat that you live in.
Yeah.
You have to be an artist to be an architect, don't you?
True. Don't you think that's with everything though, in that unless people see money coming in, unless you're working voluntary, unless they can see that you're bringing money, especially when it's competitive, because in the arts world or creative world, I think it's, if you're going to be an accountant or a lawyer, which can still bring in big money, but it's like there's a progress and it's kind of
there's a sustainability to it.
I'll explain it is like this here. You see this? Yeah. You basically have to have an artist or somebody who knows what they're doing to actually draw and design this. Yeah. So when anybody says, you get a proper job, you say, wait a minute, all the things that you buy in the shop,
actually,
artists design them. Take away that, and everything will be plain packaging and boring.
Do you find Jerome as well, and Junior? Did you find it hard to, because I can see like from the back in some of your pictures there, Junior, so the kind of graphic kind of element and the way some of your past artwork with covers on albums and various things. So I can see that you kind of progressed, and obviously now you've got all different kind of styles, but it's kind of developed into the style where it's kind of like your name that follows you. Jerome, do you feel like, I know you've done a lot of galleries, I've been to some myself, which are amazing, with some amazing artists. Do you find it hard to sometimes express what you want to express within certain galleries that you've been to, like big exhibitions, or do you find...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, do they just allow you to just go there with your stuff? Because I find sometimes it seems like even through exhibitions and galleries, when you're invited along, you have to do certain pieces that will fit in with those exhibitions.
They still dictate. There's still a kind of dictation of what they're prepared for you to allow you to view.
Did you find that, Jerome, like, how did you combat that? How do you combat that when you're going to exhibitions in when you're painting particular pictures and that's what you want to do?
Definitely. I feel like there are, you are definitely, especially within fine art, there are pre-existing, you're entering a conversation, an existing conversation, ultimately. And there are people that have gone before you that may look similarly to you, that have, other people will look at you and think, okay, you should make work like this, or we want to see work from people like you like this. And the conversations you're trying to address, which is ultimately just your own expression in the time that you live in and your understanding of that, there may not be room for that. So for instance, most recently I was they may even hear this, I don't care. So most recently I was working
we like to keep it real, so tell it all.
They do, they still look at everything I'm doing online. So yeah, anyway, most recently I was working with a gallery space, and from the get-go they were like, okay, we like what you're doing, can you work out this, we want you to propose something curatorially, but then they added their own thing. They was like, oh, we want it to be within the structure of Windrush, etc. And I was like, okay. And they was like, but can you just talk about blackness, but etc within Windrush? And blackness is a subject matter that I do comment on within my work, but there are Windrush is my grandparents' generation, and I understand and fully reference the significance of everything from that generation. Well, not, but a lot of the things that people from that generation have done and how that impacts everything from our language to clothes to food, everything, all the progress that people from the Caribbean have made, and wider communities as well. But for you to ask me that, it was very much like, there was an opportunity there for you to actually give a space to something, for me to talk about my perception of the now and what's happening now, but your desire is fixed on the frame of what is number one popular in the media, and number two, just within your own understanding of what black art or black expression is about. And it was like, or things from that through that lens, should I say. And
it's funny you said that, to just put you there, because I find it in a lot of work environments as well, just as much as I didn't even realize it went on in art, where whatever's the topic, in the media, so about quality, and you have to tick a certain amount of boxes to say that you've covered diversity or you've added certain things, or funding, because it's all to do with the funding generally.
Yeah.
So then they're going to go out there, find any black artist, right quick, let's get that black artist in, so we can have him in our books to say yes, that we've worked with black people and we've shown their paintings, which happens a lot, which I didn't really realize it was happening in the art world, because I just thought it just shows you that it's happening everywhere.
My advice to other artists would be specifically to really understand who you are and try to understand. I know that's a continuous journey, but similar to what myself and Junior were talking about from when we were younger, and we fought against that energy of, oh, you can't do this. It's a similar thing that approaches when people try to tell you, you should be doing this. And it's like, man, I don't need to do that. I can do my thing, and it was still, but at the same time, it's like you got to weigh it up sometimes, because you might get a good opportunity and you might have to do something that is not 100% your vibe. Obviously, never do anything that fully
compromises you.
You don't agree with. But if it's, let's say, it compromises you. But there are definitely times where you have to make that decision and judge. And if you stay true to your own expression and do what you truly believe and you're passionate about it,
true, because it's like never compromise your own art. Yeah, if you start compromising your own art, that's a slippery road of you going backwards.
And that's also a lesson in life. And I'll give you an example, which is not to do with art, but yesterday I was sitting down doing history. It's all European conquerors, and I thought, well, why are we looking at European conquerors? So then I started to do my own research. And I thought, well, okay, let me look at Tarquin, because, he's one of the famous Moorish leaders of the army that conquered into Spain. So then I've done a quick kind of synopsis on Tarquin and the Moors. And, from 700 AD onwards to the 1500s, they conquered Europe, developed Europe, developed the techniques of creativity and art and music and agriculture and mathematics and everything that we need, libraries, universities, everything that they brought through. They civilized Europe. So why am I looking at, conquerors after the 15th century, and usually European conquerors? So I said to my daughter, this is the person who, these are the people who conquered Europe from Northern Africa. And this is what we're going to look at in more detail as you get older. And she was so happy, one, because they looked like something, similar to her. And she's like, she's really fascinated. She's like, wow, Mum, I didn't know we had, conquerors from Grenada. I said, no, not Grenada, sweetheart. This is Northern Africa. But, the point I'm making is that I didn't follow the teacher's remit. And it's very narrow remit, and it's not the teacher's fault. This is the educational board and possibly her knowledge in general.
History is always written by the victors.
By his story.
Yeah. So we're making it our story.
Yeah. So going back to your story of your art. Yeah.
I like how you said that, Yinks.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to know, with regards to, because you kind of, as we can see, you got into kind of more graphic side of things, Junior.
Yeah.
I want to know who was there any artists that inspired you, that you kind of saw their kind of artwork or their detail to pen or style, that you thought, okay, I like the way this kind of artist is doing stuff, and you developed from that? Was there any artists who inspired you that you made, that thought you thought, I love the way this artist does their work?
I was really, keen on people like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, some of the great masters, because I like where they was going, because not only were they artists, they were also scientists. they also basically wanted to understand about the natural world. Yeah, and as you know, Leonardo, he was also an inventor. So basically, you can look around at his drawings, what he used to do, and some of those things, that he drew, back in the Renaissance, they basically have got practical applications in this day and age. He's the one who came up with the idea of like a parachute, of all things, and a plane. So it's all like very interesting to me. And the graph, and also I also like comic book arts. And I like movies. Like
was you ever a collector of the comics? Did you collect comics as a child?
Of course.
Yeah, I knew that.
Where's the stash?
Collect comics, yeah. Okay, I'll sell you this for £200. I got one in the 90s.
Marvel comics. Yeah. Nowadays I'm into like Afrofuturism, and as you can see behind me. Yeah.
Well, you know my picture, don't you?
Yes. Because my work is like a cross between like surrealism, Afrofuturism, and like touches of sci-fi and fantasy, always like smashed in together to come up with like
fusion.
Yeah, it's a fusion.
What was your thought on I'm just thinking of like, you do a lot of record covers, and it's always kind of amazed me from back in the 70s with groups and artists like
Earth, Wind and Fire,
Sibisas as well, the way the type of graphics that they used to use on their album covers used to be amazing. And it's funny when I kind of look at stuff like this now, because it just takes me back to my parents' record collections, and I got one there actually with the elephant head.
Groove Rider.
Yeah,
going back.
Yeah.
So it just shows like all these kind of I was going to go and run and get the album cover with the Aussie Beasties. They always had that kind of funky
out there.
Yeah, funny that you mentioned Osibisa, that I've done their next album cover.
There you go.
Have you?
This album.
Yeah.
Can you see it? This album always used to amaze me.
Yeah. I've got that
70s.
one. Well, it's funny enough, the granddaughter of Teddy, who's heading up Osibisa.
Yeah.
Shay, that's the artist in the family. So my sister's daughter,
who used to do the artwork for them? Who used to do the artwork for the albums?
So who used to
do the artwork? No, I'm saying I'm wondering who the artist was at that time.
Okay.
I don't know that particular one yet, but the one who came before him, where it was called like, oh boy, I've got his book. Yeah, I know of him.
Yeah, that will come to me as well, because I'm not sure about that artist, but the other album cover after that one, it's the one I'm more familiar with, but I don't remember his name.
Okay, yeah, David Howes.
Yeah.
And Carol Smither, and then someone called Abdul Mati Palawin. He done the painting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not familiar with those names, but
this is kind of the style that I kind of relate to when I see your kind of style mixed somehow in this kind of basic fusion Africa.
Because when I was doing the rave stuff, the rave stuff was quite more interesting because it was a bit more trippy.
okay. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Well, that's house and what's the other one? Garage.
Acid.
Yeah,
it was acid at the time.
This is happy hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those raves. They were good raves.
Yeah, man, those were the days, man. Those were the days. And then,
what about you, Jay? There's two Jays we have now. What about you, Jerome? Oh, the dance. That's a good one.
Jungle.
Drum and bass.
Yeah.
Were you part of the drum and bass, Jerome?
Not really.
I was a bit too young, I think.
Yeah, growing up, my sort of the main music at the time, which sculpted like a lot of the identity for a lot of young Londoners and people within inner cities around London. I mean, around the UK, was grime. So when I was like 13, 14, that was the thing.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, people weren't trying to sound American or look or like, I don't know. Just it was very much like wow, these guys sound like us, and they're doing their own thing. And it was very much like I don't know. That was the thing back then. Basically, that was the vibe.
What music are you into now?
Yeah.
Oh, everything from still elements of grime, even drill, hip hop, R&B. I was listening to Dwale a lot recently.
Do you listen to dubstep?
Yeah. Listen to all sorts of genres. But yeah,
tell the truth. You're a junglist, aren't you?
Jungle is massive.
I don't listen to jungle too hard, so I can't lie.
Do you feel that music inspires? So let's go back to the music as well, and the painting and the creativity of how you create your pieces, should I say, and and get to that final product. Do you use music? Because I know some artists, they use music, and they play certain music to get that kind of vibe and feel when they're doing a painting or doing a piece of art. Do you use music to help you, design or paint your piece that you're working on?
Do you want to go first, Junior?
Junior?
Yeah. Yes, I do, because I've got playlists, when I sort of on the computer, and I put together the playlist from YouTube, which is like a beautiful thing to do. You find that audio music, you make it into one long playlist, and you just basically play it while you're working. And the lovely thing about that, you can basically send that playlist to other people.
Because what you jump around doing jungling massive, doing your thing a second.
Because sometimes a bit of classical, a bit of like dumb, like I'm listening to Augustus Pablo today.
Okay.
And it changes sometimes. It's like, if you had enough of that, let's go over there and try some of this.
And what about Soca? Because you live, right on the route, the Soca, not Soca route, the carnival route. So how do you find carnival inspires you with the costumes and
colours?
Sometimes they have some out there costumes.
I love it, because it's like I live in that place that you might know of. Have you heard of Grenada Corner?
Of course.
Yeah, and the Trinis go there as well.
How could I know?
2 doors away from Grenada Corner, opposite the pub. So there you go.
Okay.
And so, Jerome, do you use any kind of music?
Yeah, massively. When I was growing up, I used to. Although I said I do listen strongly to UK artists. Back then, they used to make rubbish albums. They only just made like diss tracks and whatever.
Back then,
so
back when did they make music?
Early 2000.
2000, okay.
Early 2000.
You've got Yinka coming forward in their sleep now.
He used to jump up and down to my music anyway. He said, Auntie Yinka.
Yeah.
He used to be in my corner.
What was the first album you bought, Jerome?
I think it was B by Common.
I
think that was the first.
He was all right then.
Yeah, I think that was the first. So I used to listen to Common, Kanye West, and Jay-Z very heavy. Whenever there was an album, I knew I could make something, and I would feed off. If there's 1 or 2 tunes, I would listen to it on repeat, and I'll just be making something. And then, eventually, around the age of 19, it got to a point where nothing came out. I can't remember what year that was, like 2012 or 2011, 10. I can't remember. But around that time, 1920, I had to go back because nothing that was out at the time, I liked it. It was very much like a mixture of the hip hop then started to become a bit more
funny.
I don't know, like electro. And I was like, I wasn't feeling it. And if I wanted to listen to electro stuff, I'll listen to electro stuff. And then I wasn't feeling the merger. And so I went back and then I discovered a Tribe Called Quest. And that
I met Q-Tip in Japan.
Mad. I think I've seen your picture. I think you posted something recently and I was just like, wow, that is so music was massive for me personally, massive.
Yeah, music is always in my family.
Do you find emotions, like if you ever, your life in itself, like you go through a heartache or, I don't know, I used to write when I used to feel sorry for myself sometimes. some of my best writing, or I was down about the world, what's going on, and it was really hitting me. I wrote some of my best lyrics when I was in my worst state, but you know, in a place where
a reflective state.
Yeah, where you feel like the world's a bad place, and you know what's going on. You're observing all the bad things happening in the world that you'd like to change. Sometimes by doing writing or drawing, you feel like you're changing it in your picture or your painting or your writing. Do you ever found that you designed pieces based around times
Your
in your
emotions?
life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have done, as I will call it, pieces here. We've got social commentary inside it. Yeah, it's as simple as I think you might have seen the one I've done about sugar.
Which one is that one?
What's that?
It's got basically a bag of sugar, and it says like stated lies.
Okay.
Oh yeah. You sent that to me last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
What was that? What was that about? This?
Stated lies, because it's basically about state and lie, a take on steak and lie, and then there's that one about like milk for cows.
Yeah. I remember seeing that one as well. I mean, you're right. And what can I just ask both of you? What's the art you produced? What do you like the best? What's your best one? Do you have a favourite?
I don't.
That's a hard one. Look at their faces. Like,
I know. So...
I've got one here which I really like doing here, because it's like I heard something on the radio and I'm going to do this, and it's to do with a chicken box.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was basically because remember when they were saying, the police were saying that people groom the children here by offering them food, and they was going to put like information on the inside the chicken box. Yeah.
oh, okay. In the chip top.
Yeah. So on the head, like, don't let chicken be your downfall.
So you're focusing on that and rather than the message. Yeah.
So the popular band of like the chicken box, which is like yellow and orange, I changed the title of it, called it Nyam Chicken.
Nyam Chicken,
Yeah.
What about you, Jerome? Have you
do you have a favourite?
In terms of favorite, and the first question that you asked in terms of time and what you're going through.
Emotions, yeah.
I always felt like I needed to be in a good place to paint and to draw, but there was only one particular type of painting that I could do it no matter what, because of how quick it was. But the others took so long in terms of building up the competition, etc. I needed to be in a good space to really feel like output. Even if the thing I was talking about in the painting was negative or whatever, I personally had to be in that positive thing. And in terms of what artwork I like the most, there's no real favorite. I kind of just like it. Always is whatever I'm working on at the moment is my the one that I'm really vibing, and then after a while you get inspired by something else and you're just vibing that as well. Yeah, I'm quite.
Has there ever been a piece where, I know you say it's not your favourite, but you've just not wanted to let go of, and even though it's been up for sale and you see it there and you're trying to, the agent's trying to get rid of it, and you're thinking, don't buy it, I want to keep that, and you end up keeping that piece that me and Jamila won.
Yeah, when it comes to the sell, I'm very happy to sell, because I thought not just because of money.
Yeah.
But
but
it's like, but just on a personal level, it's like, wow, I made that just in my bedroom or whatever space, and this person is parting with their hard-earned cash and is telling me they love this.
Yeah, because that's it. Yeah, because the beauty of it, is that when somebody loves your artwork and is willing to buy it, it validates you even more.
Mm.
Yeah. And you know that your art has gone to a good home, so to speak. Yeah. Because before, it's like you do artwork and it's a little bit precious to you, say in the beginning. Yeah.
It's your baby.
Now, now you can basically let it go in open arms, because you have to let it go. Otherwise, you end up selling nothing, and your house has just got pure paintings.
But do you find sometimes relatives or friends, they come around? I mean, Jamila still want that picture. And they come and they look in your house and they're like, "Oh my God, that picture's amazing!" And you've just finished one, and you want to put it out for sale because you want to make some money. And they're like, "Can I get that picture, please? Oh, I love that picture. Please let me have it." You find that sometimes you give up your pictures because of family or relatives start saying to you, "I really love that. That look really nice."
No one does that to me. No one. Yeah. Everybody's very chill. They're like they might actually request me to do something specific for them, which I never have the time to. But in terms of
you said that on camera.
I'm still Jerome. I'm still waiting for my. It just reminds me now. You're supposed to be paying.
I was thinking about that. I was like, how much you asked me to do something? I can't remember.
Yeah, you just grasped yourself up now. Yes, I'm waiting for my
picture. It's not a conscious thing.
It's a lifelong task.
And you can see he was getting in trouble, because you can see his eyes wandering.
Yeah, damn, why did I say that? No, I shouldn't have said that. You just reminded me. I forgot all about that.
Do you see
Jerome, you're in trouble afterwards, yeah?
Do you see the pressure that people put on artists?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And one of the other questions that I just wanted to ask.
It's on the show now. It's out there live. I want my picture.
What I wanted to ask, is there any projects that you're working on now that you'd like to discuss or even to share with us? Any current projects either in the community or personally to you that you're working on that you're able to discuss?
Yeah.
Jay? Either Jay?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Go on, Junior. You go first.
Yeah, just.
If you say yes, you have to expand it.
Yeah.
I started, so I'll finish. So.
Okay. I'm getting a finger now, Mike.
I can always do what my father used to say. I. Now, what? Now I've just worked on 3 images here for a non-alcoholic beer.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Then went 3 pieces of artwork, so that's one thing that I've done. Yeah, 2 weeks ago I just done another record cover.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've done a poster for a Italian fashion label to go inside their game.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So you've been pretty busy.
And you designed our logo for the next generation.
Yeah, and I designed.
Yes. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with me and Jamila put a little input. Like we had our little ideas in there too.
And
Yeah.
and what can we realize?
We helped. We give you help.
We helped until we almost helped ourselves out of getting the picture. you know when you ask the ladies, I'll give you 3 choices.
Change that.
Change this. Out of the 4 choices that we had, we made them 10, didn't we?
Yeah. Change this. Change that. Change the other.
That's but we got there in the end, and it's a beautiful piece. I must say, very proud of our logo.
I'm still waiting to see it on a T-shirt though.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're looking to do that, dear.
Yeah, everyone who's been on our show.
Yeah.
I've said this before. Jamila doesn't know this yet.
Okay.
Who comes on our show is going to get a free T-shirt. Right? Okay. It's an exclusive for being on the show.
Nice.
As we develop, obviously, the things get more interesting.
I love it.
Jerome, what about you?
Right now, so I like I said, my practice is predominantly all about play. Really inspired by this book by I've forgotten the man's name now. Let me try and. Anyway, there's this one particular book about play that it's called The Rhetorics of Play. Anyway, it just talks about how you can just skip into the ambiguity of play. And he talks about 7 rhetorics, and so my practice is kind of all over the place in terms of there are 3 projects that I'm continuously working on. One of them, most recent ones, being the Lost Boys project, which is essentially that one there will be one of the, is like a beginning stage of it. Not really,
Bring it to the front. Can you bring it to the front? So we can have a proper look at it.
Okay.
So I'll do it like.
Okay.
So you put it Lost Boy. Put it down a bit.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But essentially, she is going to be. Essentially, the whole Lost Boys project is about using the mythology of or story of the Peter Pan as a metaphor for the black masculinity or contemporary black masculinity, predominantly focusing on the time period post-grime, basically, and the language that is used and how it incorporates various different cultures. And that and another one that I have here are like the beginning stages of that, where I'm trying to put people in these animal costume type things, and if they're doing something I consider to be positive, I might have them doing I have them in costumes that are, I think there's like 7 animals that have conscious of that mirror test to show that they know themselves. So there's that sense of knowledge of self. I'll have them in those type of animal thing, or make it so it's not. Anyway, I'll have those animals associated with that, and then some of the other aspects that that I see around me that are less positive, I might have them in different types of things. But that's one of the things that I'm working on at the moment.
And how is it being part of chairing the Arts Council?
Yeah, that thing is so it's AN, the Artist Information Company. And on that, they have an artists council, and
interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and essentially, it's taught. I'm learning how to, from a personal level, I'm learning lots of skills in terms of how to run how to chair a meeting, how to. I'm on the board of a multi-million-pound company, and where we've just got ourselves out of a massive deficit, obviously done due to the virus.
Yeah, COVID.
We've also managed to help lots of artists. So over £2 million in grants and stuff, in association with the Freelance Foundation and Arts Council England. So, and just being aware of the bigger picture in terms of how the political climate and the conversations going on there, and how that influences artists, and through AN basically being able to have a voice and to benefit other artists and creatives that are from the same as myself, in terms of I got this straight off the bat from graduating from the RCA, and so I'm not nowhere near like a super established artist or anything like that, but
not yet.
Not yet. Definitely will be, but not yet, and not on paper. And so it's definitely decisions. It's a great opportunity through AN to help influence decisions that can benefit artists across the country.
But how would there's a young and up and coming artists out there who are just getting at home, and they want to progress, they want to kind of get their stuff out there and be noticed. What advice would you guys give? I know at the moment there's a lot of problems and struggle with the whole COVID thing that's going on, so I'm sure that must be hard for quite a lot of artists. But what advice would you give them? Give an artist that wants to just try and get themselves their work recognized. What would you tell them?
Because everything is like closed down, lockdown, mashed down. Yeah. Yeah, they basically have to start doing self-promoting online. Yeah, through Facebook is a good one. Yeah, even better with Instagram is quite good. Yeah, LinkedIn and Twitter. Yeah, those 4 in conjunction. Where you're basically building your base, getting more likes with your artwork, putting new stuff. So
it's like kind of building a portfolio, isn't it? But online.
Yeah. But you're also building followers.
Yeah.
And these followers, will basically, if you have an exhibition, they'll go to your exhibition and tell your friends. And that's what you have to basically build it for years, but you keep on stoking the fire.
Okay.
Yeah. It always starts small, and before you know it, you can keep warm by it.
And what about funding? If there's artists out there who need some funding to try and even buy materials, sometimes it's not cheap. But my son, he's into art, and my sister's a brilliant artist, so she kind of sometimes buys him gifts for Christmas. And when I took him out once, and he said, "Mum, can I go and get this and this and this?" Because he wants all these fancy things, because he loves drawing digitally and. I'm like, this is expensive. I can have one.
Is there a fund where artists can go to, just to be like, granted that free art materials, like I said, it's like £50 worth of free art materials, because
that would be great if there was.
Artists use materials like people.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive. Even
why did Van Gogh cut off his ear? Because he didn't have any red.
I could believe
but it's
that.
True, it's true. And people don't eat. Loads of artists, they don't eat. They're so busy buying their materials, they're leaving themselves without food, and then they're painting these pictures all through. I mean, is there any funding? You say, Jerome, that you're part of a council out there that's got 2 million for funding. How do you fund people? How do people make applications?
How do they access that?
Yeah. How do they go about that?
Right now, a lot of the funding. So during COVID, when it first announced, Arts Council England is the biggest funding thing that you can go to, and as a visual artist, and they don't just fund the visual arts either. They fund music, everything, and
okay, so it's all arts.
Yeah,
but they used to fund Carnival as well.
And so they do have their independent for like independent practitioners things, grants, etc. And once you do get one, it's easier to then get more. Once they trust that you can, we've given this person X amount of money, they fulfilled their project, they did it, and it's easy to get more. There's the Jerwood Makers Open. There are various different art competitions, etc., that exist and that are around multiple times in a year that you can enter to. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for. You do have to pay to enter. But if you've already made the work and you can find a competition that fits it, I feel like those sorts of things are very useful for, again, like Junior said, I fully agree, especially with the Instagram and Twitter, and using those platforms to build your following, because I personally, I get offered commissions, and that exhibition I was talking about with the gallery that was like, we want you to curate this show, blah, blah, blah. That was through Instagram. And then people buy your work through all these things. Some of my friends have thousands of followers, and they get they have international shows. And so these things it does take time, but if you've already got, if you don't have the resources, then number one, you've got to strengthen your foundation. So you do need to get a part-time job working somewhere, or if you already have resources around you, but you don't know how to get your work out there, then like Junior said, look online and look at people in positions where you want to be, and look at, let's say, what it shows in the circles that they've exhibited in. Like, you can just look and see where people have been tagged, what art competitions they're in, and if they seem a bit too prestigious, then look at other art competitions of things that are going on, and slowly you can build your presence within the sphere of various different art conversations going on. And if you're already attached to an institution, like you go to an art school, that's even better, because you can then ask your either your tutor or the head of student union to book a certain artist that you may love, and then you're literally inserting yourself into the conversation of that subject matter.
So what about protecting your work?
Just talk to them, and the university pays for everything.
What about protecting it? Because I know you say about putting it on social media, but at the same time,
that a bit, Junior.
Yeah, because I mean, because I do like a lot of copyright, so I know how they protect it within, Copyright Trades Act and all that. But how would you advise? I know how I would, but I'm going to leave it to you guys because you're the artist, right? How would you advise someone to protect their stuff? Because you're putting it all out there. People could steal your ideas.
Sign your work. Sign your work. When you produce work, sign it. Take a picture of said work. So you've got a record of it. You know, because as you know, you might have an exhibition, say, Jerome, and there's lots of people going around taking pictures of your artwork.
Yeah,
that's all fair, all fair and good, yeah. But there's always could be one who said, "Wait a minute, I like that picture so much, I'm going to put it as a postcard," and you don't even know about it. I've had it done with like one or two of my flyers where people are using your hard work to make them cash. You know, doing the cheeky one. You know, there are people out there, not in great numbers, but there are out there. But so you basically have to protect your work by signing it.
I know that there's companies that through the work with AM, there's a company called DAX that specifically DAX that specifically look into artist copyright and are trying to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the information, but they're trying to do things to improve the situation across the board for artists, specifically in regards to copyright, which they're fighting for right now. And I would suggest looking at some of the things that they promote, because they specialize in it, and some of these things I'm not even fully aware of. But one thing I would say is that let's say you have a show or something that you've put on, or I don't know, whatever your whoever's documenting it, let's say make sure that you own the footage, and one way to do that is to document it yourself, or the person documenting it basically owns the rights. So even if it's your work, but someone's recording your work or recording you making it or whatever, if it's in a public space, then they own the rights to whatever that footage has, whatever that photograph is. So make sure. I think
it's also a good way to just say
things. Interesting.
But do you think, Jerome, also another way of tackling that is because I know we used to put on exhibitions, and they used to have it vice versa with contracts as well, where they'd say, artists having our clause that they're not, if we felt that a piece that they're going to put up is going to be threatening and whatever, we'll tell them that they can't have it up in the exhibitions and things. But do you think also as an artist, one way of combating that would be to, when you start, is just to say first and foremost that no one's allowed to film or take any pictures unless authorized by the artist themselves, meaning that you would have to get them to sign something to say they're going to do it. So if you kind of tackle that first with the people you're doing the exhibition with, and you make it very clear that you don't want anyone filming or taking pictures unless you actually give that permission. I don't mean like as the public coming in that still could steal it, but I mean someone who's actually putting on or documenting that exhibition. If you have that in your clause in the beginning, when you work with anybody, then you kind of covered yourself anyway, because you've told them that no one's allowed to do that unless you give them that permission. So that's one way of protecting yourself before they even try. You get what I mean? In that clause.
Well, I suppose you'd have to put that in writing. Whether you say verbally or not, you have
to always have things in writing when you do exhibitions by law.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can spin it the whole way around you.
So you just protect yourself before you start.
Where you can go into an environment here, and say if there's like say about 4 or 5 simple cameras, they say, well, you're not allowed to use your cameras. You can use these cameras that we laid on here. So they take the footage, they can upload it to their Instagram, but you still own the footage because they're using your materials to actually film it.
That's a very good actual point. Yeah. That's a very good point.
Well, you can get into this legal wrangling.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's really important. Very important.
Yeah, it'll be my footage because it's come from my camera.
I mean, you definitely have to look at these are the really important things and discussions that up and coming artists, even artists have been in the industry for a long time or a while, you can still get caught up in that. It doesn't matter if it's music or art or
there's a lot of people that go around there's a lot of businessmen, like you said, who go around and they haven't got a creative bone in their body, or they might, but they're not interested. They're interested in the business. They'll let you do the work, steal your ideas, adapt it slightly so it looks slightly different, so that you can't do them for copyrights anyway.
But one thing I was going to say, as we round it up, is on a positive note, going forward, we're looking at, in Ladbroke Grove, creating a cultural archiving centre. Now, the name will change in maybe different formats, but at the moment we're running with having a building under the flyover, hopefully, because of the report that came out recently in regards to the Westway Management Trust.
Are they racist?
Yeah, institutionally racist. No. Some funny how so many things are institutionally racist in Ladbroke Grove and Notting Hill, isn't it? I wonder why. Anyway, now through their being brought to book and brought to account over the last 50 years of their interesting methodology of how can I put it nicely? Of ensuring that local businesses didn't, especially black businesses, didn't have sustainability. Now that has been widely documented and noted, part of the recommendations is to have a building that we call our own. And that building should have multiple elements to that building, which is partly arts, and as well as that. When it comes to arts and crafts, and even in terms of tangible, whether it be paintings, whether it be furniture, or any other kind of art form, we have Kensington and Chelsea themselves as a what can I say, a museum. In their basement, they have a museum of residents' items in their house, whether they've left the country or whether they've passed away or whatever, or they were thrown out or they had to move suddenly. They have a multitude of artifacts in their basement, and so there's a library. So
Aladdin's Cave.
Yes, Aladdin's Cave. Just like the National History Museum.
And no one gets to see
it. What they do is they bring it out into exhibitions, or they learn from those information, they document it, learn from it, and you learn about the culture. That's one way how you learn about culture, what they like, what they don't like, how they tomb of mummies. You look in the tomb, you look at how you learn how they lived. So what we want to do is obviously reclaim a lot of our Windrush era, especially the Windrush era artifacts, and put it into one building that young people and older people can learn from, because again, it's a learning institution that we want to have and maintain. And also local talented creative artists like yourselves, just putting it out there that once we have a solid foundation, please encourage amongst the art world to donate or to make us aware of where we can go to collect things that are meaningful to us. Sorry. Can we see your book cover? Can we see the front of your book, please? That'd be nice. This way. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Junior Tomlin. Yeah. What's the name of the title? What's the title? It's a bit blurry. The title. I can't see it. Flyer, cover, art.
Flyers.
That's a great cover. I really like that.
Find the book. It's by Junior Tomlin and it's called Flyer Covers Art. It's out there. You can look on the website. You can find. Do you want to tell us your website, Junior? Where they can find it? velocitypress.uk. If anybody wants to find any information they can't find, we can always provide you with it on our Next Generation at the Mangrove 9. Don't forget to check out our website, our YouTube channel or Instagram. If you send us a message, any artist that we have on our show, we can provide you with their details. And Jerome, what's the name of yours?
Jerome.org.uk.
Okay, nice and simple. Jerome.org.
Nice, simple and sweet.
I've got a comment here, a part and comment here that I wrote into my book.
Okay.
Inspiration is my greatest gift. It is my hope that my art has inspired you, and if so, I will be eternally happy.
See? Happiness.
Oh, lovely.
If we end on the last note, and then Jamila can say her last piece. Just wrapping it up in one sentence. I'm going to put you on the spot. Describe your art. You can go first, Junior. One sentence. One sentence.
My art is global. It goes around the world, makes people happy, make people laugh, make people jump up and down and dance.
All right. Jerome, go on. One sentence.
You must rap that, my
describe your art.
I can feel Jungle Beat coming through.
I'd say play. Conversations around identity.
Okay, play conversations around identity.
That's what I like.
Go on, Jerome.
Without Yinka telling me to pipe down, isn't it, Yinka? I just want to say I'm very proud of both of you.
Yep.
And thank you for coming on our show. And you know, I know we sometimes come across as two young, beautiful, mad women, but we our heart's in the right place, and we're trying to make sure that we elevate everybody that we know in our community. Whether you have a talent or you don't have a talent, it's all about nourishing the community in general, because when you nourish the community, you will end up sprouting new and inspiring individuals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And on that note, as I'm not hammering down anyone today, I'm quite laid back. I'd like to say also thank you to Jerome and Junior for being on the show. It's so much a privilege to have you here. I'm so proud of you guys, especially coming from the community as well, from the West Side. It's always a good thing to know that we're kind of getting people on our show, because we've got so much talent in West London. We have to shout out. I think it's time from the West Side that we start shouting out about our talent, because I don't think we do it enough. We have lots of things coming in our area.
Pick it up.
Sharing and bringing a lot of people bring stuff to the area, but we've already got it there. We shout it out ourselves. We don't even need anything coming in. So big up to all the West Sides. And I'm just say thank you all
come on.
and supporting us along the way. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Next Generation of the Mangrove 9. You can also follow us on Instagram, The Next Generation of the Mangrove 9, and we also have a website, www.thenextgenerationofthemangrove9. Couldn't be any simpler. Right? So we will see you on the other side for our next show, and I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you got some good inspiration from it, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Take care. Peace and love to everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace and love.